Okay, welcome back everybody. We're here at VMworld 2013, and this is VMworld 2013 live in San Francisco. This is theCUBE. This is SiliconANGLE.com's flagship program, where we go out to the events, extract the signal from the noise. I'm John Furrier, the founder of SiliconANGLE. I'm joined by my co-host Dave Vellante, the co-founder of Wikibon.org.
Hi everybody, Ido Kadim is here. He is the Director of Data Center Technologies at Intel Corporation. We're going to be talking about the data center, the software-defined data center, private cloud, virtualization, security. Ido, welcome to theCUBE.
Thank you, it's good to be here.
So, I always, big companies never really know what the titles mean, so why don't you tell us sort of what your role is at Intel.
Yeah, my team develops solutions with the ecosystem to expose Intel technologies in ways that they deliver value for IT. Specifically, for my team, it's in the areas of virtualization and security.
Okay, so talk a bit more about what that means. I mean, you got a robust set of technologies inside of Intel, so maybe you could be a little bit more specific on how you unlock, what are you unlocking the power of?
Yeah, so let me give you an example, and with all the conversation of abstraction, people forget that, that our applications and their virtualization platforms run on physical infrastructure, and that controlling and knowing stuff about that physical infrastructure is extremely important. So one example that I will give you is one of the initiative that we call Trusted Compute Pools, which is based on Intel TXT technology, Trusted Execution Technology. And basically, the problem we want to solve is the lack of visibility that people have into their infrastructure in the cloud, which is creating barriers for people to take sensitive workloads and putting them in the cloud because they lack visibility and control into how their infrastructure is configured and how things actually run. So with Intel TXT, you can get a measurement and knowledge that the platform and including hardware, firmware, and the hypervisor are actually a known good, what you intended to run there, and you can use that as a foundation of trust. And by using an attestation server, you can promulgate this knowledge into management tools. And instead of managing an unknown cloud entity, you can manage a trusted server, even though it's a virtual, logical entity, but it's tied to known stuff about the infrastructure.
Well, that's huge, especially in the context of security. I mean, it's an area that I know you're focused on, because a lot of practitioners you talk to say, well, once I virtualize it, I don't know what's happening. With physical, I know what port's connected to what device, and when I virtualize it, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, so, and who owns it, and where is it, and it's a challenge that we want to solve. And actually, we associate with that kind of what I described also the knowledge of where the server is in terms of geography, which is extremely important for many regulated workloads. In-country regulations and stuff like that.
So you're doing that at the lowest level. I mean, you're doing that at the processor level, and a lot of people feel like that's where the problem has to be solved. So where are you in terms of being able to promulgate that approach, that philosophy? Is, I know you've been working on it for a while, but maybe take us through sort of the roadmap and where we are in terms of expectations.
So in terms of the availability of, I'll take you through the stack so you'll get a sense of kind of that pipe that goes from the IT administrator to the hardware, right? So I'll start from the hardware and I'll say basically every server that ships today is enabled with the foundational technology. And VMware, as of vSphere 5.1, so last year's release, also supports the capability. So through the VMware stack, and in fact today, not just through the VMware stack, we can create that trusted foundation on essentially any server that ships today. And then beyond that, there are several software vendors with attestation servers that are shipping. Some examples are HITRUST, McAfee, Trapezoid has an interesting solution in that space. And I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, but they'll forgive me if I do. Yeah. And then with that exposes an API that now can be consumed by essentially any management tool. So RSA has demonstrated support of this capability. Again, I'll mention McAfee, and basically
anybody.
Anybody.
So one of the debates we had early on this morning, debates or not debates, statements by Pat Gelsinger on me. I couldn't really debate Pat because Pat was
Yeah, it's tough.
taken back by the word hybrid. But we had the OpenStack guys on earlier, so I want you to define to me the definition of hybrid cloud versus private cloud, because it's a semantic conversation right now. I just want to get your perspective of how do you define private cloud infrastructure and a hybrid cloud, because VMware is promoting hybrid cloud, obviously, software-defined data center, and hybrid cloud. So how do you define hybrid cloud and private cloud?
Well, one, I admit it's a confusing topic. I think private is about ownership of the data and the virtual infrastructure.
No multi-tenancy.
Correct.
So that would be kind of like maybe a variables. Okay, multi-tenancy is hybrid.
Right, now many people actually associate private with also being on premises, so on infrastructure that's physically owned by the tenant. Hybrid is when you combine that with a hosted infrastructure. It could be multi-tenant or single tenant in my mind, but once it's hosted, it becomes
third-party hosted.
Yes, I think that to me is the definition of hybrid.
That's fair.
Of course, the challenging part is when it's a multi-tenant third party.
So the other thing that we talk about, Pat, and this is something that David and I have been talking about on theCUBE, is when cloud started to hit the scene, go back a decade ago, or 5 years, 7 years ago, it's like a utility, you plug in, you get your electricity, and we have an electrical grid that flows as standard, and Pat was like, it's standardized, there's really no issue, and this, it's an oversimplification of the complexity of an enterprise. You talk about virtualization technology, okay, check. Security, data. I don't get bad electricity coming through my house. I don't have hackers coming through electrical grid. So, these are issues, and there's data too as well. So you're in that area. How do you view the security issue, and if that's a flawed analogy, what's a better analogy for the cloud?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in 1920, people didn't expect to get electricity flowing all the time. and of course, technology moves much, much faster now, and the evolution is much faster. So I don't think we're quite in 1920.
So those outlets would be like APIs, right? Or connectors, or...
Right, so I think in terms of maturity, how should I say, you can make it work today. I think there are probably two main fields of challenge. One is technology. I think this whole software-defined infrastructure is really the necessary element, but how to use it is still, people need to learn how to do it and trust it. Yeah. Which brings me to the human factor, which I think is the other big challenge, learning to trust this automated infrastructure and moving away from manual provisioning to automated provisioning, trusting your policies, understanding that to actually provide a more secure infrastructure. And also, utility is something that to a large extent you do get charged based on use. Well, at least sort of. I don't think IT has figured out how to do that yet.
It's early, it's so early.
And it's early.
It's early. One of the things we do theCUBE, which is live broadcast, and not a lot of people do like things like theCUBE, and someone said to me last night, why are theCUBE is so popular? And I go, well, because people are tech fans now, and so, just like the automotive industry had auto fans, people love cars, right? They love cars, they love souped up cars. Yep. Back in the days when cars were cars, now you got hybrids, and the engine is virtualization, and the people come to VMworld really care about the engine. They care about like the new horsepower, the new stuff, and dashboards could be the big data, the applications, the driver, if you want to kind of go there, but there are many kinds of cars, and they are shipping today, so OpenStack, for example, can do that. So if that's an analogy, where can we get better in this software-defined data center? If the engine is virtualization and software is going to be a key enabler, how do you view all that? Is it just incremental improvement? Is there still...
Well, one, I'm thinking about the analogy, and I'm having a little bit of a hard time with it.
Okay.
Okay, to me, virtualization is the wheel.
It's a bad analogy, just say it.
No, well, actually, I want to map it to my reference system, right?
Not all of your analogies are home run, John, but you got a lot of good ones.
Yeah, I learned something from Pat as well. I have my view. I think the engine is infrastructure. It's servers, and it's switches, and it's storage. And virtualization is the wheels and the gear. And the, you know, it's I am going to take this one step further. I think you know, software-defined infrastructure will be at the end game when you can think of it as the self-driving car, right?
Yeah, automation and orchestration is a big thing right now.
Right. So, you know, the driver will program where they want to go, but then they'll sit back and relax, and the car will take them there. I think that's a perfect analogy for the end game for IT on top of virtualization. You know, software-defined networking is not new as a concept, but it's new as something that is deployable. And the adoption curve is going to take time. There's a ton of legacy in IT. And I think one of the big challenges that IT has is also, there's all the legacy, there are the business units that go around IT into pure public cloud, which creates a ton of risk for enterprises in terms of data leaks, in terms of compliance. You know, what do you do with stuff that went to Amazon but not under control, right? How do you make sure that that is done safely? So I think IT is going to have to harness all of these technologies to become a really effective mediator for the actual users, which will use the cloud like we use cell phones in the IT environment.
Yeah, it's a great conversation, and there's all kinds of analogies. And when we talked to Pat Gelsinger, you know, when he joined EMC, Dave and I had him on there, and you know, we talked about the processor. Intel processor had a lot of proprietary software in there, but it was a chip, and it was a hardened product. And that went into a PC, which was open. So everyone's trying to find the hardened top in cloud. Is there okay, forget what's in there, it just works. And that's a debate we're kind of just starting to have and hear from customers, is that, hey, I want function. I want...
You know, I think there's an evolution, and it's gradual. It doesn't go, you know, if you don't change address to the moon overnight, you know, it's you know, many years since Neil Armstrong walked the first step. We're still not living on the moon. So I think, you know, first step is converged systems, right?
That's awesome.
And then systems that can be configured in software. They're not just converged, but they're really software defined, and the configurations are software defined.
Ido, you have to go. You have to go to noon. Yeah,
I do. Oh my gosh.
I'm giving you the hard stop. You asked us to get you out of here at noon.
I appreciate it, Dave.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Great conversation.
Thank you very much.
This is happening very fast here in the cloud. A lot of things happening. We'll be right back with our next guest after this short break.
Yes. Oh, no, you